or whatever findings I have with related to this solution design considering performance metrics. So I guess we can get started. So this is our topic for today, Salesforce solution design considering performance metrics. A little about myself. I'm Meera Nair. I'm currently working as a Salesforce architect in USD Global India. I have around 14 years of IT experience, 11 of which has been on the Salesforce platform. I'm a Salesforce certified system and application architect. This is my Twitter handle, and you can follow me on LinkedIn also here. This is our agenda for today. So I will be giving you a background on why I have come up with this particular session. Then we will go through some specific solution scenarios to see which solution option might work better for us considering the performance metrics. So recently I was assigned to do some performance improvement for one of our client org. So they were facing multiple performance issues. Something like, the record save time for some of the objects like account opportunity was very high. Like it was taking more than 5 seconds to save sometimes some of the record. And they started to see frequent so-called 101 issues also, especially when they were trying to add opportunity product. And also the page load performance was also slow in some of the objects like opportunity, account, and lead. So we started to analyze to see why this issue is happening. So we were thinking like this might be because of the large customization exists in the org. But on detailed analysis, we found like they have recently migrated many of their existing workflow field updates and trigger logic to process builder. But how that might be affecting performance of our org. So I will show you that using some two scenarios basically. This is my first scenario. That is, I would like to concatenate opportunity name with account name whenever we are trying to create a new opportunity. As an example, if the account name is account ABC and opportunity name is opportunity XYZ, once the opportunity is saved, I would like to see the opportunity name as account ABC hyphen opportunity XYZ. So this is a simple scenario, right? So Salesforce is providing multiple solution options for this. You can implement this using a traditional workflow field update, or you can use a process builder. Even you can use a flow. Like a flow has recently come up with lots of new features where you will be able to associate record save actions also, like both before save and after save operations. And I think recently they have added delete operation also. I have never tried it out, but I saw like it is also available with the Windows 21 release. And the last option is like you will be able to implement using a trigger approach. So let us see each solution and then let us execute this solution to see how the performance will be and how we will be able to capture the performance metrics. So before the session itself, I actually executed each of the solution option. And while I execute each of the solution option, right, I capture different metrics. You can see here, like I am capturing actually total execution time. That's the time taken to complete my current transaction. Then the solution time. Solution time means just the time taken to execute this particular field update. Then number of DML statement got executed as part of our current transaction and total SOQL queries also. These are the different metrics I captured as part of executing each of this solution. So let us see the first one, which is workflow field update. I'm sure I don't need to explain this. I'm just checking like if the account is active. Yeah, I'm just checking like if the account is active. If the account is active, I'm just appending the opportunity name with account name. And this is our second solution option, which is using a process builder. Here also the criteria and everything is same only. I'm just checking if the account is active. If it is active, I am executing an update record action. And here also formula is the same, like I'm appending account opportunities account name with opportunity name. This is a flow solution. So I have chosen like the flow should execute before the record is saved to database. I hope most of you are familiar with how flows are getting created. Maybe I can quickly show you something. I'm just opening flows, okay? Workflows has only limited actions, like you will be able to perform field update, task creation, limited actions like that, or you will be able to execute an outbound message. But flows has got more advanced features and advantages that you don't need to write code for this. With using just drag and drop approaches, with creating some variables, and you will be able to perform lots of actions using flows. So if I'm clicking on new flow, earlier, I think we had only very limited options while creating a flow. You were able to perform like screen specific operations, or you were able to perform record triggered flows also. Now you can see they have added more features here. You will be able to perform platform event based flows, or you will be able to schedule a flow execution. There are multiple options. So I will just show you like what I have done. Like I created a record triggered flow. So when I am creating a record trigger flow, right, you have got options here like when the flow needs to get executed. If you edit this, you can see as of now, we have got three options, like when a record is created, updated, or created or updated. Like I mentioned, along with this, we have the delete operation also available, since my
Meera,
there were.
sorry to interrupt.
Sorry.
1 second. Can you drag that pop-up at the bottom of your screen that says you're sharing your screen? Can you, like
Okay.
that, move that somewhere? Thank you so much.
Is it okay now?
Yeah, it's hidden.
Okay. Thank
Oops.
you. Yeah. So like I mentioned, we have delete flows also, but since my org is not yet upgraded, I'm not getting that option. But you can see here, these are the different actions you will be able to perform based on record trigger. And also you will be able to select if the flow should be executed before the record is saved to the database, or if it is after getting saved to the database. This is almost similar to what we are doing using trigger operations, like a before trigger and after trigger. So let us go back. So I have utilized the before save operation here, and I am executing this whenever an opportunity is getting created. Just checking like if the account is active. If that is active, I am getting the parent account record and updating the opportunity with the account name. And this is our last option for this particular scenario, which is using a before update trigger. And I hope you are familiar with the trigger approach also. Here I am executing the trigger on the opportunity, and it is just before insert. I'm iterating over all the opportunity records. I am getting the account IDs. Then I am executing a query here to fetch the account name. Then I'm iterating over the opportunities to update the opportunity name with the account name. These are the different solution options for this particular scenario. Now let us see how to capture performance details. To capture performance details, what you need to do is like you need to enable debug log for your user. So in my scenario, I have already enabled debug log for my user. You can see it here. It is already active. And what you need to take care is the debug level for your operation, or whatever be the debug level you have defined here. You can see I have chosen database as finest, workflow finer, and Apex code also finest. And importantly, you need to set Apex profiling also finest. This is because during execution, I want to track governor limits related details. And if I want to track that, I need to keep Apex profiling at the finest level. So I have kept everything at the lowest level so that we can capture all the details. Let me open developer console so that while we are executing, we should be able to see the log details also here. Because of time constraint, I will not be executing all the solution options. So instead of that, what But let us do like, I have workflow and I have also process builder. As of now, I have deactivated both of this. Now let us execute each of this and track details corresponding to the time taken and also the governor limit. So first, let me activate the workflow rule. Workflow rule is activated. Before before starting with the execution, right? Let me create just a simple slide and insert a table where we can capture all the details related to the execution time. And here I am choosing it as workflow so that we can capture details corresponding to the workflow and also track it for a process builder solution. And the details that we are going to capture are like, total transaction time, then our current solution time, that is solution time taken by the workflow or the process builder. Then let us capture DML count of current transaction and SOQL also. I have already captured by executing all the solution options, but to show how you will be able to capture this, I'm just executing this once again. So like I mentioned, I have activated the workflow. Now what we need to do is, let me create a new account. I'm just populating the required fields. And since I have given a criteria like the account should be active, I'm selecting that also and saving this. So the account got saved. And now what I'm going to do is, I'm just wanted to make sure like the logs are getting captured. Yeah, it is getting captured. Now let us create a new opportunity, and the expected result is that once we save the opportunity name should be appended with the account name. Let me give demo op and selecting all the required fields like close date and stage. Yeah, those are the only required fields. So let me save this. You can see it here now, like the opportunity name got appended with the account name. Since we have executed this, let me go back to the developer console, open our log. So if you have not set any specific view for your developer console debug view, this is going to be the traditional or by default view for your developer console for a log. Now I am going to change this view so that we will be able to capture the details. For that, what you need to do is like under debug, you can go to switch perspective and open analysis. So once you open analysis, you will be getting a view like this. You can see there are multiple tabs available here. There's a stack tree, execution stack, and execution overview. Let me get started with the execution overview. Execution overview is having multiple tabs that you can see here. Save order means if there are multiple. As of now, I have got only a workflow as part of this flow. But suppose I have a workflow, then I had some other trigger, you have a PB. So all those operations order you will be able to see here using different color. And next tab is limits. So limits tab basically shows you how many SOQLs or DMS statements you have consumed during your current transaction. So probably when we do it for a process builder, you will be able to see the details here. Now we are not seeing the details for limit because a workflow is not consuming anything from governor limits. Like it's not consuming a DML or SOQL. That's why you are not seeing those details here. And also the timeline you will be able to see here. Like if there is a workflow, what is the time taken by that particular workflow? Also, if there is some Apex code, what is the time taken by that? All the details you will be able to see in a graphical mode here. And this is more detailed view of your execution transaction details. Like if it is a workflow execution, the total time consumed and number of statement or some number of rows which got updated. So you will be able to capture all these transaction details here. Now let us see like how you can capture or see time related details and heap also. There's a stack tree, and under stack tree, you will be able to see two tabs. One is execution tree and one is performance tree. Execution tree means you will be able to see the details of all the line of execution of your current transaction. As of now, since we got only workflow, we are not seeing any other details here. But suppose you had a code execution also here, suppose a trigger. In that case, you will be able to see the time consumed by each line of code. Like if you have a for loop, inside the for loop, you might be iterating 5 or 10 times. So for each of the iteration, you will be able to see the details under execution tree. But performance tree is somewhat more higher level details. Like if you have a workflow and a trigger execution as part of your current transaction, this will be grouping together the performance corresponding to workflow and trigger. So you will be seeing an entry for a workflow and then you will be seeing an entry for Apex code also. Now, since we have got only workflow, let us just capture the details for workflow execution. You can see the total time consumed is 118. So let me and for the workflow execution, this is the total time, but just for the workflow, it has taken 78, almost 79. So I'm capturing that also here. Now, what we can do is, let us go back, deactivate this workflow, and activate the process builder. And create a new opportunity under this account itself, and let us capture the performance related details. Okay, you can see the second opportunity also got saved and appended with the account name. Let me open the debug log and open the new entry. And like we have done before, let us switch perspective and move to analysis. First, let us check the limits. Now here you can see we have got entries here. So total available means the current transaction available governor limits. For example, SOQL rows, you can see you will be able to query up to 50,000 records. Similarly, 100 Salesforce, 100 SOQL queries you will be able to execute, and DML also 150. There are more details available. Probably you can review it later. And in our scenario, this request total shows how many of this we have consumed for our current transaction. And SOQL, you can see we have consumed one. And for DML also, you can see we have consumed one. So let us capture that detail. Since for workflow it was 0, let me populate it as 0. Okay. Now let us capture the total time consumed. You can see it is 321 millisecond almost for our current execution. Whereas it was just 118 for a workflow execution. So you can now itself you can see there is a difference with respect to the total time of execution. And if you just consider the workflow, so flows, PBs are also getting considered under workflow in debug log. So you don't need to get confused over here. So the total time taken is 280. I hope you understood like how you will be able to capture the performance related details from developer console for your transaction and how you will be able to capture count related details also, that is governor limit related details. Now, let us go back to the presentation. I have, like I mentioned, for those 4 solution options, I have executed that already and I have captured details here. So let us see this in details. I hope it is visible clearly now. This is a comparison over all our 4 solution options. So if you see, for a workflow, when I executed, it was consuming 137 milliseconds, trigger 200, flow 235, and process builder 374. So you can see an increment in the total time consumed. And surprisingly, you can see like for a trigger, the total transaction time even less compared to a flow and process builder. That means the flow and process builder is taking more time. This is not a big difference. Then also you can see like there is a difference in total time taken for a trigger, flow and process builder. And similarly, if you just consider the time taken to execute the workflow, it is just 50. For the trigger, it is 114, flow and process builder, you can see. Here also you can see the time taken is more for a process builder execution. And when you consider DML and SOQL execution, a workflow is not consuming any of this. So that is one of the advantage with the workflow. Even if we have some restrictions with respect to complex transactions or sometimes, controlling the transaction, there are some restrictions with respect to a workflow. But for simple operations, you can see that it might be advantage to have a workflow as a solution. And trigger and flow, if you consider, it is not consuming a DML. This is because trigger and flow both are, if you consider the order of execution of your current transaction, right? A trigger and flow will be getting executed before the record is saved to your database. So it's not consuming consuming an additional DML. But SOQL query, you can see like for trigger and flow, it is consuming one because it is trying to fetch the account record to get the account name. But process builder, you can see it is consuming both DML and SOQL. DML, it is because if you have seen the order of execution of different actions for a record save, process builder is always getting executed the record once the record is saved to database, meaning that there's transactions already committed to your database. So if you want to update something on the record again, you have to perform an additional DML. That's why the process builder is consuming one. Now, let me go back. And I have also, this is a graphical representation of the time taken. And similarly, I have executed bulk record operation for the same transaction. The previous one was for a single record. This one is for bulk operation. And sorry. So for bulk record, right, I have, I think, executed around 100 records, and you can see compared to the previous time, like when we executed this for a single record, now the difference is more here. For example, for a workflow, it is 238 milliseconds, whereas a process builder is consuming around 810 milliseconds. So you might be thinking, or you might have seen flows, process builder, everything is bulkified. But then also you might be thinking why it is consuming this much time. So when I analyze the developer console for the debug log, right, what I noticed is like, even if it is bulkified at the back end, when we are executing the process builder, for example, for 10 records, for each of the record, the logic is getting executed separately. And at the end only, it is consolidating all the records and performing a single update or insert operation. So that's why it's consuming more time. So what I guess is like if you increase the number of records per batch, the difference can be more. And even the solution time, you can see like an increment over here for process builder compared to other options. DML count, since of course it is bulkified, you can see DML count is 1 and SOQL is still 1. But for workflow, it is nothing. You can ignore this rows consumed because it was executed for different count. Again, if you see a graphical representation, you can see a different, you can see the time taken here. Now, if you see like based on the total time taken or based on the governor limits consumed, for this particular solution, you can see the workflow might be the optimal solution for us, considering the total transaction time and governor limits. Now we have seen one use case which was comparatively simple. So I would like to show you the comparison for one more scenario, which is related to an after update operation. The scenario is simple, not very complex. So what I am going to do here is, I would like to concatenate and populate child contact country value to parent account. A parent account will be having, of course, multiple contacts associated to that. So as an example, you can see here, if I have a contact one with country value India and contact two with country value China, once the second contact is saved on the account, I would like to see the country value as India, China. So maybe to understand it better, let me execute and show you an example. This is our account, and if you see here, the account country is empty. So let us go ahead and create a new contact under this account. This very limited fields, and country, let me choose it as United States. I don't have any other required fields, so let me save this. You can see here, once the contact is saved, automatically the account country got updated as United States. And if I create one more contact, that will get appended. This is what we are going to implement. And again, for this kind of scenario, we have n number of solution options. I have considered only some of this, but if you try to execute or try to implement, there are multiple solution options. And it's always good to consider different solution options before you decide on a particular solution. And then you need to decide or compare the pros and cons before deciding on the solution option. Here, using process builder or using just drag and drop approach, we have got three solutions. One is using a process builder combining with a flow. That is, process builder will not be able to execute a complex scenario like this by its own. So I have combined a process builder with flow. And recently, Salesforce has introduced the after update flow also, like I have shown you before. So I tried implementing the current solution just using a flow also. Then you will be able to combine a process builder with an invocable Apex method. So that is the third approach I tried out. Now, if you consider trigger, right? Using a trigger, we have got I have tried basically two solution options. One is like an after update trigger, and second one is asynchronous trigger. Asynchronous trigger, I'm not sure if you have used this before. If not, I will give you a high level overview on what is asynchronous trigger and how you will be able to implement this. And last solution option is again an asynchronous option, which is using Queable Apex. You might be familiar with Queable Apex and @future. Both are asynchronous mode of execution using Apex. But the difference is that Queable Apex has got more features. Like in @future, you will not be able to chain actions. That is, you will not be able to call another asynchronous operation from one asynchronous operation. But those kind of chaining operation will be possible using Queable Apex. And in addition to that, @future operations, the type of parameters that you can pass to it is limited. Like you won't be able to pass subjects and all. But with Queable Apex, you will be able to do that. So let us see solution option. This one I won't be going in detail, but our purpose is just comparing the time taken for each of this. So process builder with flow, I have a process builder here, and from process builder, I am passing a couple of parameters to the flow. And inside the flow, I will be actually iterating over the past contact record. For example, if multiple contacts are getting passed over, this option will be passing all the contacts corresponding to a single account. and automatically there is a looping, and this looping will iterate over the contacts, will be considering each contact, fetching it country value and appending to a single variable. And once the looping operation is over, I will be getting the parent account and I will be updating the parent account's country value. That's how this is getting executed. And a flow solution also, the logic is same what we have seen before, but here you can see you don't need a PB, but you can directly execute this on a flow. Here you can see the trigger action is a record is created and run flow. This is important here. Like after the record is saved, we will be executing. And if you have done similar kind of solutions, you might have seen that whenever we are trying to update something on the parent record, we always prefer an after update or after create operation. This is because of some reason, if the child record save is getting failed, your operation will be safe. Like you don't need to execute then the parent operation and you will be able to roll back everything. And this is the next option, which is a process builder with invocable Apex. Invocable Apex, I hope you are familiar with. This is just a high level details. I will be from this particular flow, right? Sorry, from this process builder, I will be calling a method called populate account country or update account country. And this is my class. And here you will be iterating over each of the records and will be populating the parent account record. Remember, whenever you write an operation, it should be bulkified. That is, it should be able to handle bulk records and should be able to update multiple records successfully. And after update trigger, I'm just making it a bit fast because of time. Okay, after update trigger, I hope it is the same as after flow, but here everything is using a code. You are not utilizing a flow or PB here. And asynchronous trigger, I am taking a little time over here to understand like what is asynchronous trigger. So asynchronous trigger means it's a trigger on a record save or update operation itself. But the difference is that instead of the trigger is getting executed on the contact record when we are creating a contact, it is getting executed on an event object. For this, you need to basically enable change data capture. That's a feature from Salesforce for syncing your changes with external system using a publish subscribe model. That is, if you enable change data capture for a particular object, whenever that object is getting created, updated, deleted, or undeleted, on all these 4 operations, a event record will get created, and whichever external applications which is subscribed to this particular event record, they will be getting notified on the changes and they will be able to execute additional operations. In our scenario, since we want to consume this change data capture internally, I have enabled it for the contact. And what happens is when I enable change data capture, and when we create a new contact record, a change contact event record will be created, and I am writing a trigger on this particular contact change event. I will show you after. Of an asynchronous operation, right? You need to enable the debug log for an automated process. I hope you know what you mean by an asynchronous execution. Asynchronous means your current contact save will be getting completed successfully, but it will be opening a separate thread. And in that separate thread, only the account update operation will be happening. So 2 transactions, it will be split as 2 transactions, and the account update will get executed independently compared to your contact save. And the advantage here is that you'll be getting a separate set of governor limits, and your current transaction execution will be completed fast because you don't need to wait for the completion of parent update of parent account update. And this is how a contact change event looks like. it has got a header component. In the header component, it will basically say what is the kind of operation. Since I have created a new contact, it says like it's a create operation. And also there are some other timestamp related details. And in the get record IDs operation, this will contain all, this is not a complete record, but this get record IDs will contain the record details. All the, when you are creating, it will contain all the fields which got populated as part of your creation. But if it is an update, the difference for an event is that it will contain just the record ID and also the field which got updated. This is how the CDC work along with the trigger operation. And if you see the trigger that I have created here, it is almost similar to, or it is exactly same as a normal trigger. Only difference is that in the previous case, we were executing this through a contact change event. I'm sorry, contact record. But here you can see the trigger is on a contact change event record. To this record only, to this object only, a new record will be getting executed or inserted. And the operation or the logic inside is same. And last option is a Queable Apex. Here also, it is on a normal contact record, no, trigger on a normal contact. And the difference is that here I will be, calling the Queable Apex method. How you will be calling? You will be calling the enqueue job is how you will be calling this particular method. And this is the Queable Apex execution. You will be passing a context and all the operations or the logic will be getting executed internally to the Queable Apex. And this is the time captured for this particular operation for all the different solution option. Here you can see for PB plus flow, it is consuming around 382, which is the highest compared to all other operations. Even a single flow solution is consuming just as 312 milliseconds. And for trigger operations, you can see it is Apex operation, you can see it's comparatively less compared to a flow and PB. And for async operations, both queuable and async, you can see two entries. This is because if you see an async trigger first, 144 means is the time taken to save your contact record. And this 104 is the asynchronous execution. That is, it's happening in a separate thread. And to complete the asynchronous trigger on the change event operation, it took just 104. So when you consider your transaction, you just need to consider this 144 because the parent update is independent of your current transaction. And if you compare the other details, DML, you can see everywhere it is consumed 1 because we are updating parent account everywhere. The major difference is on the SOQL count consumed because for a PB and flow, you can see it is consuming around 3. But for all other operation, it is just 1. 1 because 1 is consumed when we try to query the parent account and try to fetch the details. But for PB and flow, the difference is that based on Salesforce documentation, right? Whenever you execute a DML, then also it will consume a SOQL. In addition to that, when you try to query for the parent account, it is consuming. Similarly, so it consumed around 3. So definitely you can see for a single operation, if it is consuming around 3, a SOQL statement, when you have multiple chained actions in a single transaction, the SOQL count can get increased like anything, and it can easily reach a 101 SOQL exception. And this is a graphical representation. And similarly, I have done this for a bulk operation also. And here also you can see for bulk, always the time is more compared to the other operations. You can see here like for a PB plus flow, it is PB plus flow, it is consuming around 624 milliseconds, where it was just half in the single record execution. So the total time, transaction time got almost doubled when we executed bulk. And SOQL and those counts remains the same because it's a bulkified operation. So in this case, you might need to be, since we have got more solution options, you might need to be careful on your solution options. In this scenario, if you just consider the performance and the SOQL and DML count taken, I would say the async might be the better option. And this is just a summary on whatever we have seen just now. For example, if your scenario is very simple and if it is a before save operation, a workflow might be better because it's not consuming any governor limits and performance is also better. But your case is complex. You will not be able to implement that using a workflow. Then better to consider either trigger or flow, but not a PB because the performance is better in triggers and flows. But if you don't have enough time to implement a trigger, or if you consider the maintenance cost for a trigger, you can go ahead with a flow always. No need to write a trigger. But if your major concern is performance, then definitely trigger will be the better option. And if you come to more complex operation, or if it is an after save and asynchronous, but asynchronous, remember it has got limits. In addition to normal transaction limits, right? You will be able to, I think, maximum execute 50 asynchronous operations in a single transaction. So if you are still within that asynchronous execution limit, you can implement it. It is using a asynchronous operation, or you can go ahead with a flow or PB plus invocable method. So it's based on your convenience and thinking like what will be your major concern. If it is performance or implementation time, whatever it is, based on that, you can decide on solution option. And another important note is that when you perform, normally when you execute unit testing, right, what you will do, you will just do the functionality testing and probably a bulk testing also, and you will close it. To make sure it is working fine. But based on my experience, in addition to the functional testing, you need to also perform an analysis comparison, like the current logic that you have introduced in your transaction, how much more time it is adding to your total transaction time, or how many more governor limits like DML or SOQL count got added to your current transaction. If you're analyzing those details also, sometimes you will be able to improve your transaction by deciding a different solution option. So that was it. Thank you for watching this, and let me know if you have any questions. Back to you, Jake.
All right, thank you, Meera. Thank you so much. That's it really is. It's a fire hose of information. It's a lot, and I know we're gonna get even more. There was a lot of chat going on, and I'm gonna try. Eric, you had the first questions. I'm gonna try and allow you to chat with us here, so you can ask your questions. And you can just say something in the chat if you don't want to share, and I can try and reiterate your questions there. I hear something. All right. Yeah, I'm going to go back to Eric's original question. I think it kind of was an inception question. Let's see here. So yeah, if a flow kicks off another flow, it's like, how do you track the limits of that in debug? How do you know? I'm not sure.
Okay.
The limit.
I think
one.
Actions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think I have shown only a single operation here, but if you have got actions, automatically all those details will be captured here. So you can see this is for workflow. So if you have got one more workflow on opportunity, that will be listed here itself under this, and more detailed view you will be able to see under the other view, like where we have tracked the DMS related details, right? There you will be able to see each transaction by transaction. Jake, you have got time. Sometimes I will be able to enable one more flow or one more Apex action and try to show that if time permits. Otherwise, towards the end, I'll be able to show one more additional action so that it will be.
We'll try and get through these questions and let Daniel present, and we'll see how much time we've got. Eric had another question too. He said he's got an integration with a third party, and they say it's kicking off many times, 88,000 times. I don't know if that's an exaggeration. But how do you have any suggestions on how to help capture multiple transactions and get the limits on that and how much those are eating up your overall time versus a single transaction's limits?
So like I have showed, since I don't have an external integration track here, I will not be able to show that here. But, all the details, like I mentioned, under the execution tree, you will be able to see. And if you want to get into the minute details, right? So the external callout will be showing us a single transaction here. And when you click on that single operation under the execution stack, for each of the transaction, you will be able to see the additional operation here. And if you expand, if I just choose the opportunity name update, I will be see the details corresponding to that. And on the right hand side, you will be able to see additional details also. Unfortunately, because of some reason, the limits tab got closed. I'm not sure. Sometimes I'm seeing this kind of issues with the developer console. Not sure why. But in the limits tab is the better place where you will be able to track all this kind of limits related details. And even for external callout or for trigger, for all kind of operations, you will be able to see the details here.
Okay. Thank you. And then Anthony had a question too. He said, what are the considerations for rollbacks or error handling when moving a transaction partially or fully asynchronous? Can you tell your user if you weren't able to finish what you intended to do?
So this is a big wider topic. Actually, I have another session itself related to exception handling and rollback and how you will be able to track all the details. I would like to share that in another session, but from a high level, right? Rollback means if you have performed I have actually, you can see this is another trigger I have on opportunity where I have a save point defined. And at the end, inside the try catch, right, I am actually rolling back my operation. Because if some exception is happening, I want to roll back my complete transaction. But I would like to log the exception details. So normally when you are when you are rolling back, right, whatever transaction, whatever operation, even if asynchronous happened within your operation, it is going to get rolled back. Only option if you want to track the exception details is utilizing a platform event. So I'm not going to the details, but if you track the details using a platform event, if you try to log the exception using that, that will be captured, but all other operations will be rolled back. But if you want to do a partial rollback also, that is possible. You just need to define your save point according to that. Only specific transaction you will be able to roll back. I hope that's what you were asking for, but there are more details to it which I might not be able to cover at this moment.
Thank you. Anthony, let us know if that didn't fully answer your question. As with everything, there's always more details you can get into, right? He's saying, once you're a little asynchronous, you might as well kick off a queuable and go all the way. If you split your transaction across contexts, you can't database rollback. Yeah.
Once you are a little async, you might as we go for queuable and go all the way. Split your transaction across quarters, you can. I'm 100% not sure on this asynchronous and rolling back. I have tried it using a platform event async operation, which was using not an immediate publishment, which was not an immediate publish, but it is like an end publish. That was actually getting rolled back when I tried to roll back the transaction, meaning that asynchronous platform even got rolled back. So I guess like normal asynchronous operation will also get rolled back when you perform a rollback. This is my guess. I have not executed, but for a platform event, yes, that was correct. Like the asynchronous operation was also getting rolled back when I did a rollback.
I'm wondering if he meant, or maybe it's just good to know that say you have a queuable that does 3 chained jobs. If something goes wrong on the last job, you can't roll back to before the first job, right? Bingo, he says. Yeah. So So
got it.
for
Got
that
it. Yeah.
transaction, you can do
That is
rollback,
correct.
but
Because
yeah.
already the previous one got completed.
Okay.
And
Yeah, and that's unfortunate. They should make it so that you could
yeah,
pass
you are right. You are
that
right.
rollback
Exactly.
save point along to each transaction. Okay. Thank you so much, Meera.
Yeah,
We
I
really
agree with
appreciate
that. Yeah,
everything. Maybe we
that's
will
a
have you
drawback.
back to go over that other presentation sometime. It'd be really great to see that. Thank you. All right, I'm going to remove your presenter.
Yeah, I would.
And we're going to add Daniel here. Presenter mode on. All right. Daniel, take it away. You're muted.
All right, here I am. Hello, everyone. Thanks, Meera. That was really interesting, and I hopefully can build on that presentation.